Okay, so if there's no more question, let's proceed chapter 2. So I cannot present to you the PowerPoint. Full lang. Okay, so let's move on chapter 2. Okay, we're done with introduction to income taxation. So maiksi lang naman yung chapter 1. So let's move on chapter 2. It is the taxes, tax laws, and tax administration. Okay, so these are the topics under chapter 2, the type of taxation law, distinction among tax laws, revenue regulations and rulings, tax, its elements, distinction of tax from similar items, tax system and its types, the principles of sound tax system, and how tax is administered, the power of the BIR, and the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, and the non-delegated powers of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, and the criteria for selection of large taxpayers. Okay, let's define taxation law. Can you read taxation laws? Jane, to review.
Taxation law. Taxation law refers to any law that arises from the exercise of the taxation power of the state.
Okay, so thank you. So when we say taxation law, any law, okay, no? So again, the state has the power to tax. So pag sinabi natin power to tax, it's the power to collect from their citizens. So we will, kung nung the last chapter, we have determined the two types of taxes, the national taxes and the local taxes. So ngayon, we will just be focusing on the national taxes, no? Specifically, yung taxes, no, vested under the Bureau of Internal Revenue, no, and not the Bureau of Customs, okay? So, are we clear on that? So, there are types of taxation laws, no? Two types, the tax laws and the tax exemption laws. So, ano ba yung mga tax laws na yan? Okay. So when we say tax laws, number one, the National Internal Revenue Code. So when we say National Internal Revenue Code, check ko lang ha, anong RA niyan. Nakalimutan ko na kasi. Okay, it was originally the National Internal Revenue Code of 1977. Then became the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997. Then we have the train law, no, in 2018. And in 2023, okay, we have the create law. So, what are the difference? Actually, wala namang, every revision, yung sinabi kong mga yan, yung NIRC of 1977, NIRC of 1997, then we have the train law of 2018, then we have the create law in 2023. Nagkakaroon lang ng mga slight changes, no, sometimes as to rate, sometimes as to scope. Okay, for an instance, no, yung sa create law, specifically yung corporation rate doon mas bumaba. So yun yung mga difference nila. Okay, so iba-iba, no? Depende. So that's the internal, pero yun lahat ay the National Internal Revenue Code. Nagkakaroon lang sila ng iba-ibang pangalan. Okay, so ngayon, kung naririnig nyo, we are now under the create law. Pero technically, yung nandun sa original na NIRC, yun pa rin naman, unless nga ma-revise yung specific section na yun. Okay? So the tariff and custom codes. So, by the way, the NIRC, or ngayon mas kilala na siya as create kasi yun yung bagong tawag sa kanya. The assessment and collection are vested on the BIR. For the tariff and custom code naman, ito ay vested naman sa Bureau of Customs. And the local tax code ay vested yan sa locality. It's under the barangay or the municipality. And next is the real property tax code naman, yan, vested yan sa probinsya. It's a provincial imposition. So, pag sinabi nating National Internal Revenue Code, yan yung tinatax natin kung kanina yung mga binanggit ko. We tax persons, we tax property, ano pa yung tinatax natin? Goods, services, the donations. Okay, so yun yung mga tinatax natin. Estate. Okay. So, yung sa local tax code, depende kung ano yung mga sinisingil. Kasama dyan, business permits, sanitation permit, etc. No? Real property, yan yung tax sa lupa. Okay. Now, what are the tax exemption laws? Of course, these are laws that grant immunity from taxation. The minimum wage law, anong ibig sabihin ng minimum wage law? Ibig sabihin ng mga they exempt the minimum wage earner for income tax. Only those who are earning 250,000 above annually, annually, gross income more than 250,000, sila lang yung tinatax. Under that, sila yung tinatawag na minimum wage earner, they are exempt from income taxation. Excuse me, the Omnibus Investment Code. So, not all types of investments are taxed. So, hindi lahat yung tinatax. The Barangay Microbusiness Enterprises, may classification kasi yung mga BMBE. Yan yung mga maliliit na tindahan, sari-sari store, or business na nasa barangay natin. They are also exempt from tax. When I am saying tax, ito yung sa BIR, no? Yung sa National Internal Revenue Code. Pero may mga subject sila pa rin sa mga local taxes. Okay? And the Cooperative Development Act. Ito may mga local taxes silang binabayaran. But for BIR purposes, no? They are exempt. Pero meron silang mga kailangan pa rin bayaran, I think, no? Later we will discuss it thoroughly. Okay, those are the types of taxation. Now, what are the sources of taxation laws? Constitution, statutes, presidential decrees, judicial decisions or case law, executive orders, administrative issuances, local ordinances, tax treaties, and conventions with foreign countries and revenue regulations. Okay, so isa-isahin natin, no? So, doon sa Constitution, the vested is actually the power to tax is vested, no? Under the Congress when it comes to imposition. So, yun yung susundin natin. Okay? So, may mga instances lang, no? Na, for an instance, yung presidential decree, merong isang issuances dyan, example, yung community tax. Are you familiar with cedula? So, alam ko pinagtibayan ng presidential decree. Tapos, ang sumunod dyan, nagkaroon ng batas. Una pala yan, batas pambansa. I just forgot, no? May research ko yan sa internet. Kasi wala siya sa sa NIRC, yung cedula. Pero what's the basis of cedula? Di ba? They issue cedula. So, nag-originate siya sa batas pambansa, then it becomes presidential decree. So, yun yung mga ibang taxes, no? Na kung bakit nagkakaroon ng ganon. Then we have the judicial decisions or case laws. So may mga instances na may mga cases about taxes. Whatever the decisions na nanggagaling doon, we can make use of it as one of the source of tax law. Lalo na kapag may mga query as to will it be tax or not. So sila yung nakakasagot nung queries natin, no, through the decisions from pwedeng Court of Tax Appeals or ng Supreme Court. Then we also have administrative issuances. Ito for the purpose, normally ito and mostly yung as well as dun sa local ordinances, ito yung mga local taxes. Pag nag-issue ang local na, itatax yung ganito, let's say itatax yung mga lahat ng mga alay, yung mga ganon, or yung mga, ang tawag dito, yung Yung mga peryahan, itatax yun sa isa certain locality. So, depende sa locality yung itatax nila. Okay? Through an administrative issuances or local ordinances yun. Okay. Tax treaties and conventions naman with foreign countries, it applies to yung mga sources of income from outside or yung mga non-resident citizens natin or non-resident alien natin. So, may mga tax treaties na pagbabasihan natin, ano lang ba yung itatax natin sa kanila. When it comes to revenue regulations, no, ito naman yung mga issuances. So, ito na yung issuances ng Bureau of Internal Revenue. Okay? So, under administrative issuances, we also have, yun yung binibigay din ni BIR. For national taxes, for local taxes, meron ding binababa yung local, no? Okay. So, what are the different types of administrative issuances? So, ang dami. Ma'am, ano po ang ibig sabihin niya? Isa-isahin natin. Can you please help me to read the revenue regulations? Emily.
Revenue regulations are issuance signed by the Secretary of Finance upon recommendation of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue or CIR that specify prescribed or defined rules and regulations for the effective enforcement of the provisions of the National Internal Revenue Code or NIRC and related statutes.
Okay, so pag sinabi nating revenue regulation, yan yung mga formal announcement or pronouncement, no, na nagka-clarify kung ano yung dapat gawin. So, nandiyan yung detail. Kung sa ibang batas, meron silang tinatawag na implementing revenue, IRR, ay implementing rules and regulations, di ba? So, dyan specific. Let me give you an example. So, revenue, I'll just find it. No revenue. Okay, I'll show you one, ha? Revenue regulations. And the VAT exemption. Okay, these are example of revenue regulation 5-2021, implementing the new income tax rates on the regular income tax of corporation on certain passive incomes, including additional allowable deductions from gross income. Of persons engaged in business or practice of profession, pursuant to RA 11534, or the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentive for Enterprises Act, or CREATE. So ito yung example ng revenue regulations. So, Republic Act 11534, or yung tinatawag natin CREATE Law, so i-define niya ngayon or iisa-isahin niya through an RR na tinatawag. Nandito ngayon, what are the scope, definition, so define niya kung ano yung mga corporations, partnership. Ayan, ito yung importante yan. That effective, ayan, Ano ngayon yung mga corporate income tax rate? Ito kasi from from July 1, 2022 to June 2023. Pagdating ng July 1, 2023, nagbago na. So dito ngayon kasi nakadefine kung paano natin gagawin yung taxation. Okay? Through an IR. So if you will become, siguro sa ngayon hindi mo siya ma-appreciate, But if you will become a tax practitioner, all you need to do is to just read the RR. Kung paano mo ba i-implement yung CREATE law na tinatawag. Okay, at first, hindi din namin alam but all we need to do is to read the RR on how are they going to implement. So, ano na nga ba yung bagong rate ngayon ng corporate, Through an RR. Okay, dati yung MCIT, okay, alam ko yun yung isa lang na pagbabago eh. Dati ang alam ko ang MCIT natin is 2%, di ba? Sorry, 1%, Domestic corporations in general, 1%. Starting July, tumaas pala siya ng 2%. Okay, ngayon pagdating doon sa proprietary educational institution, from 1% to 10%. Regular yon, So, ibig sabihin, ito kasi nung train law, bumaba din ito. Tapos ngayon yung iba tumaas. Pero alam ko may mga bumaba eh. Alam ko mas bumaba. I am just not sure. Kung ano-ano pa yung iba. Okay? So, now let's continue. So, that's revenue regulations. So, again, it is pronouncement, to clarify the law. So, yun yung tinatawag natin sa ibang batas na IRR nila for BIR tax, for tax law, for taxation laws, ang tawag natin ay revenue regulations. Okay? These are formal pronouncements intended to clarify or explain the tax law and carry into effect its general provisions by providing details of administration and procedure. So kung paano, kung kailan mag-start, so diyan nakalagay. Revenue regulation has the force and effect of law, but it is not intended to expand or limit the application of law. Otherwise, it is void. Okay. So, diyan natin babasahin kung kailan mag-start, ano ng rate, saan ipa-file, etc. Okay, another issuances is the revenue memorandum orders. Can you please read RMOs? Christine May.
Revenue memorandum orders are issuances that provide directives, instruction, prescribed guidelines, and outline processes, operations, activities, workflows, methods, and procedures necessary in the implementation of states, policies, goals, objectives, plans, and programs of the various in all areas of operation except auditing.
Okay, so dito naman yung method, workflows, Pag tinignan nyo yan under the site of BIR, meron din tayo niyan, Those are revenue memorandum orders, From the BIR din po yan. They prescribe specific instruction kung ano ang gagawin natin. Okay, let me check if we can show you example of it, no? Or RMOs. Gusto kong makita yung medyo familiar kayo. Yung iba kasi hindi eh. Okay, ito example. Sample tayo ha. Up share and then I'll share again. Okay. Okay, example. RMO. Revenue Memorandum Order number 13-2023. Plus yung numbering ng mga yan, same as with revenue regulations. Number siya, no? Tapos yung year kung kailan yung ginawa. Okay, kaya yung kanina, 2018 ba yung 2020? I'm not sure. Okay, so ngayon this is RMO 13-2023. So, effective lang yan 2023. So these are amendment to revenue RMO 4722 regarding policies and guidelines in the implementations of flexible work arrangements or work from home. Okay, so ito yung mga specific guidelines for a specific situation. So meron silang mga revenue memorandum orders, no? So, yan. So, can we differentiate? Kasi marami yan eh. So, dapat ma-differentiate natin mamaya, no? Okay, sige. Next. Okay, next is the revenue memorandum rulings. Kindly read para pag-isa-isahin natin. Then, let's differentiate. Jelly.
Revenue memorandum rulings are rulings, opinions, and interpretations. Wait lang po.
Interpretations of the
CIR with respect to the provisions of the tax code and other tax laws as applied to a specific set of facts with or without established precedents and which the CIR may issue from time to time for the purpose of providing taxpayers guidance on the tax consequences in specific situations. CIR rulings therefore cannot contravene duty issued RFRs. Otherwise, the rulings are null and void about emission.
Okay, so when we say revenue memorandum rulings, no, thank you, Jenny. Okay, when we say revenue memorandum rulings or RMRs, yung kanina RR, revenue regulations, RMOs for our revenue memorandum orders, then we have the revenue memorandum rulings or RMRs, no? These are rulings, opinions, and interpretations of the CIR with respect to the provision of tax codes and other tax laws as applied to specific set of facts with or without established precedents and which the CIR may issue from time to time for the purpose of providing taxpayer guidance on the tax consequences in specific situations. So when we say revenue memorandum rulings, we are talking of a specific rule. Okay? For an instance, rules on income tax lang. Income tax for corporation. Okay, yung rulings about it, yun lang yung ilalagay doon. They are not discussing about a prescribed guidelines on how to do it. Okay? So ito, normally, this comes from walang specific sample ito sa site ni BIR. Kasi ito yung mga queries, no? Normally, it's the queries from praise from the taxpayer. Pero meron kasing based on the queries of the taxpayer, pag maraming queries about it, gagawa na sila ng RMRs. Meron kasing specific na pag paisa-isa lang, ang tawag lang nila doon, BIR rulings lang. Kung ano yung position nila sa isang bagay, okay? Kapag may mga queries sila. So, that's another. Kaya nga sinabi niya dito, BIR rulings therefore cannot contravene duly issued RMRs, otherwise rulings are null and void ab initio. Okay, I'll try to look for RMRs for next meeting so that I can present to you know what are specific example of an RMRs. Okay? So next RMCs. What are RMCs naman? Can you read RMCs? Kyla.
Revenue memorandums, circulars are issuance that publish pertinent and applicable portions as well as applications of law, rules, regulation, and precedent issued by the BIR and other agencies, offices.
Okay. So pag sinabi naman nating RMCs, no? Ito, meron tayong example niya. Let's find here. Excuse me. BIR RMCs. Okay, yan. Example of RMC. Revenue Regulation Circular Number 3-2022, clarification on the preparation of assessment notices for compromise penalty. For an instance, pag sinabi natin compromise penalties, yan yung mga kapag hindi tayo nakakabayad doon sa taxes natin. Meron tayo kasi yung tinatawag na interest surcharge and compromise penalty. So yan, this is just a clarification, no, kung paano ba siya ginagawa. Okay? So pag sinabi nating RMCs, technically hindi siya doon sa rulings itself, pero kung ano ba yung possible effect nun, no? Yan yung mga other implications natin doon sa tax itself. For an instance, yung corporate tax, ano yung rate niya? As to rate, makikita mo siya sa revenue rulings, di ba? Pero as to penalty, makikita mo rin siya actually sa revenue rulings kung paano siya pinipenalize, no? Kaya lang, kung paano siya ginagawa or kung paano piniprepare yon and all other concerns pertaining to that, RMCs mo naman siya makikita. Okay, so what applies to that? So, revenue memorandum circular naman yon. Okay, so yan yung mga processes din, no, which is applicable to such rulings or to such revenue regulations or RR. So yan yung tinatawag nating RMC. Okay, next. Let's have, next one is the RB. Ano naman yung RB? Ito, madali-daling i-define. Okay, kindly read RB. Judy, May, Victoria.
Revenue bulletins, or RB, refer to periodic issuances, notices, and official announcements of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue that consolidate the Bureau of Internal Revenue's position on certain specific issues of law or administration in relation to the provisions of the tax code, relevant tax laws, and other issuances for the guidance of the public.
Okay, so ito lang yung mga announcement, no? These are just notice lang nila, official announcement ng Commissioner on Internal Revenue. So, yun, wala namang it does not pertains to any regulation or any rulings or any circulars, or they're just informing the public for guidance. Okay? So next, BIR rulings. Ano naman ito? Zylene.
BIR rulings are official positions of the Bureau to queries raised by taxpayers and other stakeholders relative to clarification and interpretation of tax laws.
Tax laws. Okay. So when we say BIR rulings, these are the position. So if there are queries about taxes raised by the taxpayers, so kina-clarify nila ito through this one. So rulings are merely advisory or a sort of information service to the taxpayer such that none of them is binding except to the addressee and may be reversed by the BIR at any time. Pero kapag ginawa na nila siyang yung kanina, revenue memorandum rulings, eto na yung mga rulings and opinions, no? Magkakasama na to kasi commonly kapag merong, pag nag-issue kasi sila ng bagong regulations, so pag maraming questions or queries about this, they instead of giving individual answer, gagawin na lang nila ito through memorandum rulings, no? Yun nga lang, it's not binding, pero in reality kasi class, hindi naman basta-basta nagbibigay ang BIR ng kanilang official positions ng walang basis. So technically, based pa rin yan sa ating revenue regulations. So just to clarify, kasi medyo nakakalito silang lahat, ang susundan natin lagi is the revenue regulations. Pag sinabi nating revenue regulations, yan talaga yung batas. Yan yung internal rules and regulations na tinatawag based on the law na ginawa ng ating legislative. So diyan nakalagay lahat, no? Ngayon etong iba na to like RMOs, RMRs, these are issuances or yan na yung or RMCs, I mean, yan yung mga other than the regulations na prescribed guidelines depende dun sa tinatanong natin. For an instance, income taxation specifically for foreign tax non-resident foreign corporations. So doon natin makikita yung iba. Okay? Pero kung ano talaga yung tax rate, normally tax rate tax rate at kung kailan mo siya dapat gawin nasa revenue regulations. All other, ito lahat, RMOs, RMRs, RMCs, RB, BIR rulings, those are support. Support lang sila, no? Ang talagang issuances na number 1 dyan is yung revenue regulations because that's the IRR. Okay? So, next. Oh, sorry, we only have 1 minute. So next session natin will be on Thursday. We'll be discussing the elements of tax, a valid tax, and then the classifications of taxes, no? So I think we will end here now. So that's all for today. So good afternoon, everyone. See you again on Thursday.
Thank you
Thank
po.
you po.
Okay.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.